Welcome, everyone. I assume some of you are connecting to audio. Obviously, we're doing this a little early. So we're just trying to make sure that, unlike last time, I don't have to hold my cell phone up to broadcast to Facebook Live. So we'll get started in a little under 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Oh, get that right.
You're there. I see you, Ms. Crafter.
Oh, good. Thank you. I was thinking, did I get that right?
Yes, you did. You're all good. We'll get started in a little bit. We got about 5 minutes. I just didn't want to run into a technical issue like I did last time, trying to get everyone onto the social media to get it broadcast live. So,
All right. Thank you.
Let me get my.
Hi, Janelle. Hi, Darren.
Okay, so it's gallery. How do I put my picture on? Do you want your video? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
There you are. Hi, Janelle.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Hi, Darren. We can't.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh,
I-
yep.
I-
There we
I-
go. Yeah.
I have 4 little ones, so sometimes it's easier for me to say than not.
Yeah, I understand.
always amused. I know there are a number of teachers that are out there that are dealing with Zoom and things like that. And sometimes I wonder how nice it would have been to have an actual mute button on students.
Right.
It doesn't work all the time. And I'm pretty sure that my students probably would also say the same with me. It's like, there he goes. He's talking a lot again. But, I missed out on that one a little bit. So we got a few more minutes to go, then we'll go ahead and get started. I know it's not going to be as large of a group as last time. Couple as always, some scheduling conflicts here and there and that type of thing, but we've got a lot of a robust agenda as always. The goal is to not beat what City Council did on Monday night by not getting done until about 9:15. So we are looking to do the under on that one. I think I started a tradition in board meetings. As we would walk in, I would kind of call out the over under of what time we should always get out. Then you always had the optimists that always say under. And then you'd have the realist that would say exceptionally over and things like that. Kind of a good little betting pool for everybody.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I'm here for however long we all need.
Well, it's as with many things that we all know. Sometimes it's one of those, hey, this sounds great. I want to do it. And then, a couple of weeks in, you're like, I'd rather watch TV.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah. I'm learning. Yeah, definitely measure your responses and your enthusiasm.
I kind of refer to it as, this is a marathon, not a sprint of things that we're trying to accomplish all the way. So.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Good to see you.
I'm pretty excited to see how I can contribute.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, we'll find a good use for everybody, I'm sure.
All right.
Everybody's coming in now. I'm going to grab a bottle of water. I'll be right back.
2 more seconds.
I didn't even need to get cheese.
Hello.
Okay.
Guys, set the table, please. What? What? Set the table, please.
We'll begin shortly.
And if you're gonna listen to something, I can't have you in here, please.
Okay.
Because I'm in a meeting for work.
There we are.
Got another minute or so before we start. So again, for those of you that are just joining us, we have a rather large agenda to go through tonight, as we will most nights because of the size of our group. Not everyone will be joining us this evening, but we do have a pretty good group that is confirmed to show up this evening. We will also be joined by City Attorney Chris Shook here in the not too distant future. He's going to be talking a little bit about a couple of items as well.
Hi, Lori. Hi, Ruvan.
Hi, Odella.
Good to see you.
I think I'm just going to have Adela do the attendance for the evening. I think she's saying hi to a lot and pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I am. Hi, Doug and Angie. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Hi.
Something.
It's good to see you guys. Hi, Histogen, Darren, and Brian, and Stephen, April. Hi, guys.
Hello, how are you this evening?
Hi, good, thank you. Hi, Seth.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
Do you see all those people on your screen?
I see
Well,
everybody.
they're at the top of my bar, and I'm scrolling past and seeing names.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're at the top, and as everybody signs in, it pops in to the top of my screen. And
Okay.
I can scroll through and say hello to everybody.
Oh,
All
I'll
right.
have to figure that out.
We are at 7 o'clock, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And as other individuals come in to join us, we'll go ahead and do that. And if City Attorney Shook, I know he had soccer practice earlier, so I know he's rushing to get in front of a camera somewhere. So as soon as he gets in, we can pop in and have a little bit of discussion. But I thank all of you for joining us this evening. We are live on Facebook, and I don't have to hold my cell phone the entire time to do so. So little technological miracles for the evening on that one. We're going to go ahead and start off basically with roll call. But what I'm going to do is, as we kind of go through the committees themselves, I'll go through the roll call for those of you that have done that have volunteered for specific committees. So that way we don't have to go through everything all the time, and that's the way it's written up on our form here. Basically, we're going to just go ahead and approve the agenda tonight. Basically, the big goal is to elect a chair and a co-chair of each committee, as well as an election of a secretary. And then we get to the fun stuff, which is the new business. The new business with whatever it is that you feel that we need to discuss for that particular committee. So we're going to try and limit the conversation to those that are on the specific committee as we go through this, just so that way we can get all of that done. And again, that way when City Attorney Shook comes in and we talk a little bit about sunshine laws and all of that, what you can say, when you can say it, and all of that stuff, he can go over with everybody. So we'll start off with the Arts and Beautification Committee. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through the role here for who I have listed as being a part of this one. If I miss your name, please let me know. John Haig. Okay. Lori Gaynor.
Here.
Okay. Roxanne Burris. Seth.
Here, yeah, hey.
I know Shelley Johnson said she was not going to be able to meet tonight. Lisa Jones.
I'm here.
Okay. Steve Castro.
Here.
DeErnest McLemore. Okay. Joel Ramirez. Odella Crafter.
Here.
Thank you for playing along with me. And Ruvain is here, so I saw his name as well. All right, so we do have a few people. A couple of you have volunteered to be chair and co-chair. According to this list, I have Lori Gaynor and Ruvain. So between the two of you, If you want to pick a number between 1 and 5, or if someone would like to volunteer to be the lead on this one. Don't all speak at once on that one.
I'm happy to jump in.
All right, so Ruvain, do I have a nomination for Ruvain to be the chair?
I nominate Ruvain to be chair.
Nomination.
I second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Congratulations, or I'm sorry, whichever one you feel is best for that one. So then by default, do I hear a nomination for Lori Gaynor to be the co-chair?
So moved.
All right, so it is all moved and we're all good with that one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. All right, we did have a couple of people join in. One from this particular committee, Ernest McLemore, did you join in just a few moments ago? You might be still connecting. I see the name, but I'll just go ahead and do that.
Yes, I did, Mayor.
All right, that's good. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now, the one that no one has volunteered for yet, and we unfortunately have to pick someone who's present tonight because, while it would be fun to nominate someone for the secretary position who is not here, let us kind of make sure we don't do that. So of those of you whose name I have called for this particular committee, is there any volunteers or nominations for the secretary? And just to let you know what the secretary is going to do, anytime that we have a meeting, it's basically going to be your responsibility to take some generalized notes on the topic, make sure that we have a record of who's saying what's going on, things like that. There are things that you can do to listen to this over and over again, just to make sure. They do not have to be verbatim, but it's just a way to keep track of the participants and who's saying anything. Do I have any nominations?
I'll nominate myself.
All right, Lisa Jones nominates herself. I would have to hear anyone else, but I don't think anyone's going to jump at that one.
I will gladly.
We second that for Lisa Jones.
Absolutely. Take a one for the team.
I'm nothing but a team player.
I appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and move it. Now we have a secretary. So now new business. So originally when we talked about the Arts and Beautification Committee, we talked about a number of things. We talked about anything from neighborhood beautification. We've also talked about public art, public music, things of that nature. So now I'm going to kind of let you guys take the floor here. If you know how to raise your hand in Zoom, that's fine. Or if you actually just want to do it the old-fashioned way and raise your hand to start new business, we can go ahead and do so. Does anybody have any suggestions about things that we can do, information that we would like? What direction do you want to take this particular committee for arts and beautification? Stephen Castro. Stephen Castro got his hand up first. I'm not sure who else had their hand up. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was just thinking about doing a litter cleanup, and that's something that each of us can do within our own communities. And so that's something that you could get youth involved in that. They can take pride in their communities. You don't necessarily have to get in a car and drive somewhere else to be able to do that. So, I looked and saw that the grabber trash pickers, you can get them for like $7 to $15. So they're relatively inexpensive. Maybe some could be sponsored for various communities where maybe people don't want to have to buy them. Those are just one of the ideas I had.
Well, I do know that we have plenty of those here that you can be used from City Hall. So if someone would like to do those, that would be fine. I think that's a great idea. Believe it or not, social media actually did put a post up just within the last 48 hours about some trash at some of our commercial sites. All right, so we got a little feedback there. Do you want, as far as the committee goes, there are people in the school district that we can get in contact with. I know, student council could be a possibility. But then if there's something, I know there was an organization, I think it was called, was it Planking the Berg at one point in time that came out? This was right around the time that, right before COVID was going on, where a couple of just private citizens were talking about getting together to go ahead and pick up something. Would you like to have something like that, or something where we can kind of fix a particular day or fix a particular part of town? Or if it's just something that's just like, hey, you're in your neighborhood and you've got your grabber and you want to go out in your area and pick some things up, what would you think would be the best course of action?
I definitely want to encourage people to get out and walk around their community, in general. And so I think this is a good opportunity, and I think it's a good time to do it right after trash day. So either like on trash day or the next day, For us, that's Thursday. And so that week gives us 2, weekdays, whether it's after school or after work or whatever, get out and walk around and before stuff ends up blowing off into the trees and down in the ravines and stuff like that. So it's something I kind of want to do anyway. So I think I want it to be something that people are encouraged to do it, to take pride in their own community, as opposed to something that's seen as work or some kind of obligation. But I was thinking about some kind of incentive, like for school-aged kids, if it could give them like a volunteering credit for their school, and that's one way to incentivize more people to get involved.
Yeah. I also am acquainted with one of the Boy Scout leads here in our Reynoldsburg Pack. So it would probably, I've always thought that getting the Boy Scouts and the school-age kids out and about to do, some trash pickup, obviously not alongside the roads, but in neighborhoods and things like that would be a great idea.
I agree. And I think that we could also perhaps take advantage of the Junior National Honor Society as well as the Honor Society, because they have to do community hours, and they could assist in doing, trash collection on certain days or once a month or once every so many weeks, too, and that would just involve contact with the principals of the school as well as the academic advisors to those organizations. Would also be a partner to and sort of mentors to the Boy Scouts.
Right. That's great.
Because they're older,
Absolutely. I think any program that we try to put forward, if we can try to partner, like someone who's older with someone that's younger, and you can create those mentorship opportunities that just happen kind of naturally. You don't have to call it a mentorship program. You can just be doing something.
John Siriak?
I haven't volunteered for this committee, but my wife and I go periodically just up on Taylor Road between Kingsley and Priestley, and we just pick up that area on both sides of the street. But I'm thinking along with this whole initiative, Mayor, if there was maybe a map down at City Hall, and like people who volunteer, they just highlight or yellow in or whatever mark this section of the street that's being canvassed. And that way, as it grows and grows and grows, you can actually tell what parts of the city are being monitored by, senior citizens or grade school kids or high school kids. It'd be kind of neat to come down to City Hall and take a magic marker and pencil in your little area and watch the whole city light up in different colors about how the community is actually picking up trash. And I like Stephen's idea of doing it after a trash pickup day, because that's when most of it gets out on the streets. So it's a great thing that the city, that we citizens can do, for sure.
Absolutely.
One of the I work for Habitat, and one of our community partners, they have a litter competition. So there's teams that you can form, and they do it over a period of like 6 weeks, and whichever team collects the most litter can get prizes or stuff. So I can get more information on that, but
that might be a fun incentive, especially if you're looking from some school agers in that regard, that they would kind of like, that would be an interesting kind of connection there. All right, I think, was Lori, were you raising your hand there? Okay, go ahead.
So it was just an idea that I've been thinking about as I drive down Main and everything. When we have those really pretty, flower beds, and they're starting to get kind of, I kind of had the idea of, rather than planting plants, because daylilies are really high maintenance and they die really fast, of instead of doing those, having almost, I don't want to say a pollinator, but using native plants. This is the plains area. This is prairie land. So putting in, cone flowers, black-eyed Susans, blazing stars, like blah, 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 all of these others, like wildflower type things, they'll grow more naturally. We won't need to use as much fertilizer. They won't take, they're much lower maintenance. I mean, I planted 4 of them in my backyard, and I have almost 20 feet of them now. So, they're without any incentive to have them grow. And so I think doing something along those lines, I think would be, from a budgetary standpoint, advantageous, because the city isn't spending money, on fertilizers and things like that. And then even then, you don't even need to water them as often because they root so deep, because they're natural to the landscape. So, that was just a thought that I had in my mind. The only bad thing would be it does attract butterflies, and there might be some butterfly kill on the streets, but it's just something that came to my mind when I was driving along, thinking of native plants versus non-natives.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak for our Parks and Rec department, but I know that we do have an arborist on staff in the Parks and Rec department. Maybe the next time that we gather together, that we can invite to see if he would like to join us and just have kind of that conversation, get some information out there. And we'll prep him as I'm kind of taking notes for myself as far as to answer some of these questions.
Okay.
Any other, Lisa, go ahead.
Just real quick, am I supposed to be taking notes? Am I effective immediately or
Absolutely.
You're effective immediately.
All right.
All right.
I actually did, this is Laura, I actually did have one other thought, and
Sure.
and that's because I just got back from the Outer Banks on a vacation. So the Outer Banks has these cool little statues, and they're the painted ponies, and it's in honor of the wild horses that roamed around the whole area, and now we're confined to the very northern parts. I kind of thought it would be neat to do, but there would be an expense involved with this. Something from an artistic standpoint of either having like little raider statues all over the place that local artisans could paint, because that's how the painted ponies work. Local artisans paint the ponies, they maintain them, they do all of that, and they get the credit for them and all of that. And I just thought maybe, I don't know, something whimsical to put around in the city for people to find and take pictures of. Just a little whimsical idea.
Well,
I hear that there's a turkey around town.
The Reynolds Brook turkey.
I'm wondering if there could be like a large metal tomato of some sort that could be, either a giant one that's found downtown that could be painted, similar to like the rock at Kansas University or something like that, and maybe having smaller ones around town that could be stuck to the ground, sort of like the target dot, something along those lines.
No, I think
I floated a tomato too, but I wasn't sure how that would be received. It's a tomato.
Well, it's something that is, that is an identifiable thing for Reynoldsburg, obviously. So that might be something. And just because it's a tomato does not necessarily mean that you can't take some artistic liberties and color it in any kind of way that you choose to that stands out. But that's definitely a good direction. Would you be open to finding a little bit more information about how they went about it in the Outer Banks?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
that could be something that you could kind of tell everybody about when we reconvene here.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have litter pickup, we have painted objects, we have whether they be turkeys, tomatoes, or other. Any other things as far as, I know we're going to have a code enforcement town hall, so we're going to be going over a couple of things about like winterization of, for your house, about leaves and what to do with them and things like that. So that might be something that we can help spread on our networks when we have it later in the month, especially because of some of the issues that leaves kind of cause when they get caught into our storm sewers and stuff like that. But that might be something. Ruvain?
Well, I wanted to add regarding what Lori and the other gentleman mentioned, that when it comes to like doing art projects, perhaps for around the city, that there could be a collaboration with the Arts Academy, where it could be a project for the sophomores, the juniors and seniors, where if you create an object, you get your credit for whatever the requirement is for what you have to create that semester. And then we could then be the beneficiaries of some piece of artwork that is in line with what you all are talking about. So it could be a collaboration with the what's the name of that academy? The
Encore.
The Encore, yes, thank you. The Encore, it could be a collaboration with the Encore Academy where we could you know, allow those students to create a project for us that we could put out throughout the city that would be in line with what we would like to see. And it would benefit us as well as the student.
So, and I have a 10-year-old child, so I'm not sure about these processes at the high school. Does the high school have like a craft, a program for people going into craft labor, welding, cutting, things like that?
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
it's an opportunity for us to also use those kids to help design and develop those, because you know, metal art pieces were mentioned. So if Reynoldsburg High School does indeed have those craft, you know, classes for the craft, it's a thought.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they could connect the Fab Lab to all that.
Yes, yes, sir.
There's
Yes,
a way
sir.
to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's definitely, not to cut the conversation off, however, our city attorney, Chris Shook, is joining us. Chris, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So if everyone just wants to go ahead, we'll take a slight break from our discussions on arts and beautification, just kind of let City Attorney Shook talk a little bit about some of the sunshine laws and things, kind of like the rules of the game for this committee as we move forward. Thank you again, City Attorney Shook. I hope your practice was worthwhile.
It was a little weird coaching practice with a shirt and tie on, but I got through it. And yeah, I want to thank the mayor for inviting me to come here to this community commission meeting, and thank everybody here for participating. I see a lot of people on here who I know. I'll try to keep it brief on open meetings because it is very similar to what it sounds. It's that, you know, your meetings need to be properly noticed to the public so that the public could attend if they so choose and make comment. And 2, your meetings need to be available to the public. Now, currently, while we're in this COVID pandemic, the Ohio General Assembly and the Ohio governor have temporarily, while we're under a declaration of emergency, allowed us to conduct open meetings the way that you're conducting one right now, which is by video conferencing. Otherwise, ordinarily, meetings would have to be in person. They'd have to be in a public forum where you have enough seating available for the people who want to attend. But while we're in the middle of this declaration of emergency, this is also a proper way to conduct a meeting. As a city attorney, the biggest concern that I tend to have, and I think the mayor could certainly echo this comment, is to ensure that we're not having illegal public meetings. So I think most people here are familiar with the concept of a quorum. Is that correct? Is there anyone here who's not familiar with that?
Yeah. What percentage of the group is that for a quorum?
Well, my understanding is that you guys are going to be breaking off into different subcommittees. And that's where you're going to be doing most of your work. But if you're going to have any matter that might be subject to a vote or public comment or discussion within either the larger group or the smaller group, you cannot have a majority of the voting members discussing that topic outside of a public meeting. I have this conversation with members of our BZBA, of our Planning Commission, of our City Council, to make sure that, you know, they're not having those conversations. And it doesn't necessarily just mean conversations in person. It can be emails, it can be text messages, Facebook groups. You cannot have a majority of voting members in any type of public body having conversations or committing to votes over those kinds of mediums, because what happens is that it erodes public confidence in these public bodies, in the strong belief that public bodies should do all their business open to the public, so that the public can attend and the public can make comment, and so that they know what it is that your debates are, what your deliberations may be. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're not doing those things. It's also important not to do those things because it happens to be illegal. We as a city could be subject to a lawsuit for violating the sunshine laws and conducting those illegal meetings. I will give you an example that I gave to all the new council members just before they were going to take office. Down in the city of Cincinnati, they had some council members find themselves in some significant trouble because they were engaging in group texting about council matters outside of a public meeting, and they had more than a majority of the council members involved in that group text message. All of those council members, it's my understanding, are under investigation and could be subject to significant penalties up to and including criminal penalties. I don't say any of that to scare you. Actually, I do say that to scare you because it's the best way, I think, to ensure that all the meetings are conducted in an open, noticed process like they are required to be. As far as the notice is concerned, the easiest way to deal with notice of a public meeting is when, these community organizations, these boards, these commissions are able to adopt rules where you set certain dates and times by which you are going to conduct regular meetings. That is the easiest way to ensure that your meetings are publicly noticed, because then they are noticed in your rules and they are conducted regularly. The difficult thing becomes when you conduct special meetings. This year, in the middle of the pandemic, the school board has had to do this. The city council has had to do this. I believe tomorrow we have a special planning commission meeting. Those meetings require special notice. And that notice has to be generally more than 24 hours. And the topic of that meeting has to be noticed, and the meeting itself has to be very limited. So if you guys could not conduct special meetings, conduct meetings in accordance with the rules that you promulgate within your committee and your subcommittees, then we won't have to worry about special meetings and special meeting rules and making sure that we adhere to those things, because that can get quite complicated for us.
Okay. And City Attorney Shook, this is Odella Crafter. I just wanted to, I just wanted to mention that it probably is really wise to know for this committee and the other committees what the set number of committee members are and what the quorum is, just so that we all know that this number is the number of the committee members. This is the quorum total, and you can't, not that anyone would, but you can't be contacting via text and email or next door neighborhood app, these number of members of that committee. And it would be wise to know what those limits are, just so that, not that anybody intends to go over that, but just so that everybody is aware that you cannot contact 7 people of a 15-member committee or 4 of a 12-member committee. We need to know, I think because we are all sort of neophytes, I think it's wise for us all to know what those numbers are for the total and what the numbers are for the quorum that would put us into a category of this is outside of, or this ends up being a public meeting that is not documented and that will cause problems.
Well, I think that assuming that City Attorney Shook is not going to scare a majority of you off with us tonight, we should have a better idea of what the committee numbers are after this meeting.
Okay.
We did have a few people that have decided that they just don't have the time to commit to this right now. So the numbers were in flux even up until about 6:30 today.
Okay.
So that's just one of those things that we'll continue to, and that'll be the first thing that we send out to the elected chairs and co-chairs, and then they can disseminate that information as well to figure out what the exact numbers are for everything.
All right.
Did anyone else have any other questions? I see Darren, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say you may have just answered my question, but specifically to Adele, those questions that she wanted to get answers about as far as the numbers, for some of us who are newer, is there not maybe a PDF like a rules list that you could email out to the committee members, so that way as she was indicating, we'd all be on the same page, as it were?
Yeah, certainly we can do that. And you know, we would probably use the Planning Commission and BZBA rules as sort of a template. Now, one of the easier things about, you know, this commission and the subcommittees is that these are ad hoc committees who are making recommendations as opposed to making decisions that are binding on any party or on the public.
Right, right.
So for example, if you were to have a public body have a vote at what is later determined to not be a properly noticed or maintained public meeting, and they make a decision that is binding on a party or on the public, then that decision is void, not enforceable, but can later be ratified at an open meeting. This commission, the subcommittees, you will not have to be concerned about that because none of the decisions that you will make are binding decisions that affect the rights of people. They are recommendations that you make to council, and then council may at some point follow those recommendations and then make a decision that can be binding later on. And that's a little bit different than what we deal with the Planning Commission and the BZBA, because the Planning Commission and the BZBA do make decisions, quasi-judicial decisions that affect the rights of parties. And so the decisions they make must strictly adhere to those open meetings requirements.
We'll look forward to seeing kind of the, we'll call it a cheat sheet for future reference about some of the rules for everybody. But I do want to respect City Attorney's time. I'm sure he needs to take a shower after a long practice. However, if anybody does have further questions about this particular topic, feel free and send them into the City Attorney, and I'm sure we can address it and make sure that that information is included in our cheat sheet. So.
Go ahead. If you have any questions, email me. Concerns, email me. We do have available at City Hall a textbook on open meetings laws. It's actually not as complicated as it sounds. It is relatively straightforward and simple to digest for a layperson. You don't have to be an attorney to understand it as you read it. So if anybody wanted to take a look at that, I can make that available for you as well.
Thank you very much, City Attorney. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll go back to our arts and beautification. We have a couple of, I see somebody's hands. Ruvain, if I saw your hand go up first, go ahead.
All right, so I guess along the lines of the litter cleanup and all that, I've noticed recently that there are quite a few animal carcasses that are being nibbled on by various creatures. And I'm wondering if that would fall under this category or if that would be something else.
I think there's probably something else, in all honesty. A lot of it depends on, as bad as this sounds, is where the animal is located. If the animal is located in, the public street or honestly even a public sidewalk, then that is something that the city is responsible for. If it's on private property, then that's the responsibility of the property owner to go ahead and take care of. There was and maybe this is what you're referring to. There was a deer that happened to get hit not too far off of Taylor Road, and it landed in the spot basically that was owned by the Limited, and it was on the weekend, so it was very difficult to get a hold of anybody at the Limited to take care of it. The city ultimately did, but that's more of a kind of an informational thing for people that we can get out.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments for the Arts Commission? I think we do have kind of a couple of things to look forward to for this next group, so.
If I could, Odella Crafter, just to note, we talked about the cleanup, beautification, not as much about arts yet.
Right.
And that's more my interest, cleanup also, but art and I guess would relate to perhaps like either visual art, placed throughout the city, art in terms of music perhaps, and festivals in the city. That's the arts part of this group. What do you all see, and especially you, Mr. Ruvain?
Well, one of the things I was wondering is if there is a connection here that we should make with the with Parks and Rec, or if there's a Zoom conversation we should have, because obviously as an independent committee we don't have a budget, and
Right.
and I know that they are working hard to enhance and increase the arts and performance offerings in Reynoldsburg. Mr. Mayor, is there something that we should do to connect that, or?
Yeah, actually, I think what we can do is I can get a list of, in a non-COVID year, a list of the typical events that we have, whether they be farmers markets, obviously the Tomato Festival, other things like that. You know, we did the concerts in the cul-de-sac and things of that nature, and get a list of all of those particular items to the Arts Committee, so they can take a look at what things that the city already offers. And then maybe at the next time, in addition to the arborist from Parks and Rec, maybe we can get our Parks and Rec director, Donna Bauman, to join in for a little bit to speak to this particular issue as far as the music, and to get a better idea of where that goes. So that's something that I can easily take care of.
Right. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities to weave in and out of the kind of the mainstay programs that Reynoldsburg offers, and enhance that. So.
Absolutely.
Della?
The hand that just went out.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Mayor. And I'm not part of this committee, but the city used to have a arts commission.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's still in effect some way. I know the recreation director, I think, used to work with them, and they actually supplied different artwork that was displayed at City Hall at different times.
I've noticed that has not been in existence, I believe, for a little while, but I did remember talking with Director Bauman about that, but that's something that we can look at. I know that there's a commission out there. Robert Barga is a member of it, but I don't know to the extent how active that is anymore. Obviously, I think everything's kind of taken a back seat when it comes to certain things like this due to COVID, but that's something I'm meeting with him actually next week, so I can, or in a week and a half, and I can actually talk with him about that as well in advance of our next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, I know somebody else was about to raise their hand. I just was it Ernest?
Yes, Mayor Beggany. Question that I have is, and there may be one in existence, is there some sort of vehicle like a flyer or something electronically that circulates to all the citizens of Reynoldsburg of the various activities or performances or exhibitions, whether if it's on a large scale or in some of the small establishments, because I think that a lot of people, you know, will want to know what's going on in terms of performances and art and music and that type of thing. And they could draw those people to those businesses and organizations.
All right, I'm going to sound like a salesperson. Have you heard of Reynoldsburg Connects? It's our email blast system that we established earlier this year. That does have a lot of that information that you're looking forward to, where it has events and things like that. If you're not familiar with Reynoldsburg Connects, you can go onto our website and scroll down to the very bottom of the page. And it actually gives you a couple of options of things to select from. One is our massive email that actually just went out yesterday that covers everything from things going on with council, things going on with our Parks and Rec department. We also have an events post. So anytime that an event comes up within the city, that would be something that would be there, as well as just kind of a generic informational sheet all the way across. I will say, I know that I believe.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I believe VIX has musicians coming in every so often. Maybe one thing that we can work on, or someone can work on, is reaching out to some of our local businesses. And when they do have musicians come in, I know Prost has had some local bands. I know that obviously it's a VIX and a few others, that anytime that they have something, they're more than welcome to get that information out through this, through us, through the city, so we can actually put that information out there.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll become familiar with it.
All
right. So Mayor Beggany, let me ask, would there be a point person so that, because all the businesses are sort of different and solitary, and they need perhaps a point person to submit their information to for the city so that it could be listed in the Reynoldsburg Connect
I think that's
email?
For someone on the Arts and Beautification Committee. Nominations. It's a person. Adela Crafty,
I nominate
thank
Adela.
you for volunteering.
God. Okay, so tell me again, what would the responsibilities be?
Basically just passing along the information. I can connect you with the Chamber of Commerce and they can actually send some information out to their businesses as well. That might be a good opportunity. And we can funnel the information through you or whomever else would like to take that on. And then we can, with a point person here at City Hall, Jennifer Clemens, our communications director. She would be the best person for that.
Yes, go ahead.
Wayne?
In line with partnering with the local businesses in the downtown area, maybe we, once things stabilize more regarding COVID and all that, that we're able to.
He froze.
You froze a little bit
He
there.
froze.
Ruh-roh.
All right. I think that might be the only way that we have Ruvain to freeze and not. All right, so hopefully he'll jump back on here. So I think we have a good base to start off with our first committee. So I do thank you.
Yes. Oh, there you are.
Ruvain, you back? You kind of froze all the way through. You were just about to tell us your idea.
Sorry, Wi-Fi is a little spotty here out on the deck. I was thinking, you know, speaking of connecting to the local businesses, if we're able to create some sort of maybe a micro gallery hop type concept, mimic some of the Short North ideas, and attract not only attention to local artists and performers, but also to the small businesses along Main Street.
Great idea.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Well, we have our work cut out for us on the Arts and Beautification Committee. So thank you very much.
I think Stephen actually had another thing to say. I'm not sure.
Stephen, go ahead. There we go.
Yeah. So something that I was a part of downtown, I think at a Church for All People, I think was the name of it. They had a talent show for young people, but also young people of all ages, I guess, to come and, you know, you could learn guitar. I actually did guitar lessons there, and some people would sing or do poetry or you rap, or even if you just want to show your art there. It was a really cool way, you know, like an after school program, or just, like I said, we ended up getting people of all ages, and it was just a cool way to connect artists with young people who maybe want to learn or maybe want to express themselves. And that was done through a church. So, you know, I don't know that that's something that we can necessarily start right now, because it's probably best suited for a place with like an indoor space where we can protect ourselves from the weather and have every kind of art there. But I guess kind of long term, once we get through the COVID phase, to have that, be thinking about that, I think is a good idea. But then also I have a question in that, which is, I imagine that churches and different organizations are already doing this type of thing. Are we allowed to advertise or allow churches to advertise, you know, these types of programs so that people who don't know about them can get involved?
Yeah, there's actually, we're working really hard. One of the first things I did when I got into office is I met with a number of the local religious leaders in different churches. Originally, it was designed to help with senior citizens that might not be able to take care of certain parts of their homes and things like that. As an example, there was one house that did have a code enforcement issue. But the woman was of advanced years and was having a hard time keeping up. And so one of our churches, Aaron DeLong and the Simple Church, actually came out and did some, and I would like to say it's more than yard work. They did a lot of work with there. They even took some of the, you know, the typical hazardous materials and took them down to Swaco and things like that. So there are plenty of things that we can partner with that. And I think there's no issues with that kind of building that partnership throughout, because I think it benefits everybody in the community. All right, so we can add that to our list as well. All right, we'll go ahead and if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close and move on to our welcoming committee. Oh, yes, somebody.
Yes, Brett Luzader.
Yes.
When you send the information for the Chamber of Commerce to Adela, might also send Les Samaji's information for the Renville Visitors and Activities Bureau.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. I'll add that down. Can't forget Les. Good suggestion.
Yeah. I'm on that advisory committee now for Les and the Reynoldsburg magazine.
All right, so that's a good connection all the way there.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our welcoming committee. Again, some of you I may repeat the name and some of you I may not. So the welcoming committee, Angie Harvey. Yep.
Here.
All right, Crystal Mirth.
Here.
There you go. I know Darren is here. Deborah Cohn.
Here.
Doug Harvey is here as well. Janelle Layton.
Here.
John Seriak is here. Seth is here. I thought I saw Tatiana. Tatiana, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Tiffany Wilson.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Maurice. Okay. Jaretha? No. And Jadina Bowers. I think she may not be here for this one. All right, so we'll do the same thing. We'll start off. We have a couple of you that have asked to be chairs or co-chairs in this particular group. So we can go ahead and start off. Do I have any nominations? I know Angie Harvey, Darren, Deborah, Doug, John, and Jadina have all volunteered for some sort of extra leadership in this particular regard. Do I have any nominations for a chair? Do I have any suggestions? All right. I will go with John. Would you be interested in helping with this one? Either as chair or co-chair?
I was just going to say, because of two new commitments that came up, I'm going to have to just be a member of sitting in. Yeah, I'm a bit stretched at this point.
Not a problem. Angie, by any chance?
I respectfully decline that.
I understand. Darren?
I too was going to say that this is a first time for me. So I thought if there was anybody who was more vetted that wanted to take the opportunity, I was going to leave it to them. If there's nobody else, I will co-chair.
Okay. All right, do we have a nomination? We have a nomination for Darren to at least be co-chair. Does anybody want to join Darren and co-chair with him on this one? Again, please don't make no mistake. It's not going to be something that's going to take a significant amount of time, and we'll all be gentle. This is.
I was going to volunteer to co-chair. I don't know that being absolutely in charge, so maybe 2 co-chairs.
I'd be perfectly. Anybody have any objections to that for this? All right, seeing none. Congratulations, Debbie and Darren. You are our co-chairs of the welcoming committee, and now the one that I think will even get more enthusiasm. Secretary. Does anyone want to be the secretary for this particular committee? Lisa, you're not allowed.
I'll do it.
Nope, you already. Janelle?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, so we have our chair, co-chairs, and we have our secretary. So now let's go on to the fun thing, the new business. This is obviously a welcoming committee that will also include many aspects of things, including the diversity and how we kind of create a sense of home and community here in Reynoldsburg. So I will leave it to those of you on this particular committee to kind of throw out a couple of suggestions and directions of where we want to go.
Yeah, I had some quick thoughts because I have another appointment at 8, so I'll get it out there. So I was thinking, originally I came into this thinking, oh, we need to welcome our new Nepali and Bhutanese citizens and that. But then I was contemplating all the social issues in our country with Black Lives Matter and all that. So I started to change my thinking about the committee itself and maybe broaden it out to just being more of a diversity committee, because I guess what I'm hearing is lots of our African American Black community maybe don't actually feel so welcome sometimes in our community. And I know we have some Jewish folks in the community, but I don't know where they are or who they are. And so I don't know about the rest of, Janelle and Angie and Darren and everybody else. If we want to maybe not target one incoming group, but have an all-embracing welcoming from Reynoldsburg as far as all our diversity, because it expands out. Now, maybe that's not the direction to go. Maybe the direction to go is welcoming in the new citizens into our communities. But I didn't want to leave a whole group of people out there that's been with us for decades and centuries, but still not feel like they were part of our relationship community. So those are some of the thoughts I've had since our last meeting.
think having a little bit of everything is a good thing. I think there's something to be said for welcoming anyone that's coming into Reynoldsburg. As you know, we are the second hottest real estate market in the country. And yes, I'm going to say that a lot over the next few weeks. With as many new people that will be coming in, including some of the developments and things like that, I think that it's an excellent opportunity to welcome people into Reynoldsburg. But at the same time, John, that's a good point of recognizing those people that have already been here. They may not feel as connected to the rest of the community as some of us, are that are involved in the various school and city organizations. So then the question that I would ask is just outside of the typical welcome to Reynoldsburg packet that usually is sent out to people and things of that nature, what else can we do to kind of foster that sense of community?
One of the things that they could start doing is collaborating with your Arts and Beautification committee, specifically in those areas where you have exhibits or festivals or anything going on that would maybe give them an opportunity to showcase the areas where they're from or have something that was specific to their interests as well. It might not also be a bad thing as we have, again, festivals and things going forward, to have a welcoming committee booth there so that you have more one-on-one contact with people that you might not otherwise have the ability. Not everybody would think to call the city hall to find out what's in the neighborhood when they come into the city, but maybe make some forums like that as well. Maybe even to have it start at the farmers market and have a presence in each one of the events that happen in the city as a starter. I'm more interested in, my primary interest is also in how to do the active youth engagement in that group as well. Because I think that you need to start with people when they're relatively younger and reaching out and helping to build that community coming up behind us.
We have a lot of those same kind of organizations in the school district, be it student council, NHS, and then obviously some of the other organizations that are out there that can do it. I do like the idea of the Welcome to Reynoldsburg booth. It's something very identifiable, especially when we go back to a world where we're having events on a frequent basis. That's one thing that's been it's very odd to not have as many events as we usually do. You didn't realize how many things the city of Reynoldsburg does actually do on a yearly basis until you are the one canceling everything. No, that's a good idea. Anyone else have any suggestions for the welcoming? And again, the name is just a placeholder. If we have other identities that we want to put in, we can do that.
Yes,
yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to comment on John. I think that's an excellent idea, excellent suggestion to broaden that committee to whether it's a diversity or cultural committee, and as well as you, Debbie, some sort of festival or cultural festival, just recognizing the diversity of the Reynoldsburg population. So to both of you, excellent suggestions.
I do know the school, and again, in the non-COVID time, the school does a diversity fair. It's usually, actually, I think they have two of them, one in the fall and one again in the spring. So I know exactly who to contact to do that. Because I think what ends up happening is, kind of like what we've said with some other things is, maybe a few people know what's going on, but maybe it's not as widespread as it could be. And that's just a way to help connect it. So that's a good idea. I saw somebody else has their hand raised. A couple other people have their hand raised. Who's next? I have Crystal, go ahead. All right, we'll come back to Crystal.
Had unmute.
All right, that's fine.
That's okay. Someone made the suggestion last time we got together, I believe, and I thought this was really good to also, and I don't even know what this would look like, learn about the other cultures in our town instead of just saying, hey, welcome to Reynoldsburg. We're great. This is what we have to offer. I personally would like to know about the other cultures in our town, regardless of who they are, how long they have been here. I think it's easier to work together when you understand someone else's point of view or their background or their culture, understand what their concerns are, what's important to them, celebrate their heritage, things like that. But I remember that from the last time we got together, and I thought that was a really good idea, just to understand. And again, I don't know what this would look like, but something to learn about the other cultures, whether it's I don't know, their holidays, their history, their background, whatever, but just to better understand them.
Bob and Angie, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, Mayor Begney. The thought that came to my mind is, you know, kind of co-opting an idea maybe from the religious community, which is just, you know, if we get a list of new folks into the city, is there a way to maybe once a quarter have a, you know, meet the mayor, meet the council, meet the police chief event? You know, hey, here's what we're out about, you know, obviously give them some information about whether it's things as pedestrian as, you know, building your deck or, you know, what permits you need, but here are services, here are things, you know, not everybody will come. We could mail the packet to the folks that don't, but have people come down maybe in advance of a city council meeting, maybe after a city council meeting. Not going to call them out in public, not going to put them on display, just, you know, kind of a meet and greet of some sort, just an idea.
No, it's I mean, something kind of like an open coffee house hours type of thing before maybe a city council meeting or something like that. So it's not as intimidating. You're not talking to people standing up on the dais as they're all looking down upon you. Well, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Tatiana?
Hi. As an immigrant myself, going back to what John said, it is absolutely crucial for the new Americans to understand where they're living now and understanding this culture as well, not just us understanding the culture of the new Americans and just welcoming them. So I definitely do agree with what John was saying. And to what Debbie and Crystal were saying, I was sitting in a group, a planning group before COVID. We were planning an international festival that was going to take place at Livingston High School. It was going to be a collaborative effort between the schools and the city and Chamber of Commerce and several individuals from the city. Those events are really, really fun and they're very well attended and very educational, not just fun, but very educational. You learn about the cultures, the customs, their music, their food, and things like that. And this is where you would most likely meet most of your new neighbors.
That'd be a great opportunity. You know, you mentioned, you know, someone mentioned the, you know, the visitors booth, the Reynoldsburg booth, you know, having something there to answer some of those questions in a non-threatening environment where you can kind of come up and say, you know, hey, this is what's going on in the city, or how do I do this, that, and the other. So that's just another opportunity. That's a good suggestion. Do I have any other?
And this is definitely a time to connect also with the arts committee as well.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, again, advertising and letting the different groups that we're familiar with that are in our own networks to know that these kind of events are going on. All right, I have another raised hand. I have Janelle.
Yeah, I think the International Festival is a great idea, and kind of along that line, maybe possibly at the Tomato Festival, we could invite the different cultures to have a booth. So as people are at the Tomato Festival, you know, they can stop by the booth and kind of learn about the culture and maybe have some food or something like that if we can get people to participate.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Have your own little block of these are the people in your neighborhood and have each group have the ability to come in and have a little piece of that area.
A little snapshot of our community.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Darren and then John. Actually, let's go John first because I know he said he had a thing at 8 o'clock. So
I had to go, but just a shout out for all the artsy people on Sunday, the 27th at Pine Quarry Park. It's the 3rd annual Unplugged concert. So it's just people coming with their lawn chairs. There'll be directional signs of where they're meeting. And it's unplugged, you know, we get 30, 40 people, but you're all welcome to attend. Distancing and wear a mask and wash your hands. So just want to let everybody know that's at Pine Quarry Park on Sunday, the 27th. Check the Facebook page. I think it's starting at 4:30, I think. So, but thanks, Mayor, and thanks, everyone. I got to bug out.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. Hope to talk to everybody soon.
Bye.
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Long story short, I'm just a regular guy, and I'm not 100% sure what resources are already available. But when I think of welcoming to Reynoldsburg, a question I asked myself, and I think maybe you'd better be able to answer, is what resources do those who are coming to Reynoldsburg have, as far as like maybe even a center, a community center with computers where they can fill out resumes, job applications, and they can find other resources, just more of like a one place located in Reynoldsburg where they can go and get more information if they don't, maybe say they don't have a computer at home, or and I personally work at a bank, so I work with a lot of people who are just setting up bank accounts and things along those lines. And, you know, they tell me all the time that they don't have resources and they need help filling out resumes and they need help finding jobs. And one way I told them that I wanted to give back to them is to get involved in this community, because I thought, or this commission, because I thought there'd be an opportunity for that.
I would think typically the first place that I would look at that is open for everyone would be our public library on Bryce Road. Having said that, it's going to be torn down by the end of the year. They're getting a new library. So, but that's something that I think we can work with the library system to kind of do. I know the YMCA does have some resources. And then as far as things at City Hall, we can try and work a little bit more with Job and Family Services, see if there's opportunities for them to come out. I do know that we've had a couple of events with the New Americans that have come to, I believe they went to one of the apartment complexes, Indian Creek, at one point in time. And I think that is one example. And I know that Tatiana works specifically with a group that does allow for that. So that might be another resource that can be used as well. Tatiana, do you want to speak to that real quick? I see your hand is raised, so.
Oh, I should have lowered my hand. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Oh, here, let me do that right now. But yeah, we can definitely connect the people in need with the organization that I work for, though it is not 43068. It's not Reynoldsburg address. It's in the backyard of Reynoldsburg, but very close to Reynoldsburg, just on the other side of Bryce Road. But we can definitely use that as a resource for sure.
As I learned from board member Neil Whitman today, at one point in time, that was actually annexed into Reynoldsburg, but that's a whole other conversation that we'll get to.
You know, one other thing you might consider, because I was already thinking the computers are available at the library, but you might want to even consider getting some kind of a volunteer network that when people call that they need help, such as with resumes, not exactly a mentoring program, but someone that you can buddy them up with that would be willing to sit and walk them through those processes. Maybe people that are good at doing job applications or know the sites to search or what the qualifications of building resumes, and even host a couple of workshops where people could come and learn how to do those particular kinds of tasks.
That's a good idea too. And that's just another way that we can bring different people from the communities together. Right. I do see Lisa, is that your, okay. She's going old school. She raised her hand, so.
Maybe the churches in the community already have something set up that we can partner with as far as resumes and things like that. So.
To help spread the word.
Yeah.
All right. I saw Janelle's hand first, and then we'll go to Stephen, and then Lori, you had your hand up as well. So then we'll kind of go Janelle, Stephen, and Lori. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just have kind of a general question about the committees in general. So are we always going to meet in this kind of form, or do we like break apart and have our own committee meetings at some point?
At some point, I think that's going to be the direction to go, because that way we can be respectful of everybody's time. I think that's what I would like to address the next time. My hope is that we'll have the technological problem solved at City Hall, so that way we can have this meeting broadcast, you know, the next time that we all meet together. And then at that point in time, I think we can set and establish specific committee meeting times. That way everybody knows, so we don't have to, I mean, to be honest with you, if you're not on the welcoming committee and you're still here, thank you. But I understand that there are other things that we can do, so we can kind of spread that out a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Doug and Angie, do you have another question, or is that inadvertent hand?
I think that might be inadvertent, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Oh, not a problem. All right. Stephen, I know we said, yep, go ahead.
I think it's really good to reach out to people new to America or minorities and underrepresented people. I think that's an awesome and focus. And I also wonder if you can kind of, is there the resources to cast a wide enough net to welcome anybody that's kind of new to the area? Because obviously there's people, you know, with different privileges and stuff, but I think there can be cultural representations from people that aren't necessarily considered minorities, and they could have a lot to contribute as well. And I wouldn't want to detract in any way from, you know, I don't want to end up making it such a broad net that we kind of forget that mission of, you know, reaching people who are new to America. But if we can cast a wide enough net that includes anyone, I think that there'd be a lot of value in that too. Because sometimes, you know, you're new to an area, maybe you're from out of state, and, you know, maybe you feel a little alone, and loneliness can lead to mental health issues. And I always think, you know, this is a great opportunity to get people connected and, you know, not feel so isolated potentially.
No, I think it's a good idea. I think that, you know, we start with the base of trying to figure out how to, you know, attract people in, whether it's through the welcome packets that the city typically sends out when there's, you know, the notification of a sale or something like that, maybe even putting them at different apartment complexes throughout the city, and then maybe doing a little bit more of a partnership with the school district. Because again, one of the things that I think that introduces people in the community to everybody else is when they're starting to enroll their kids at school. And maybe that would be an opportunity that we can work with the Welcome Center to have some of this information that we're gathering here to help spread that word. Very good, good idea. Lori, we'll go to you, and then Darren, and then I think we'll go ahead and get ready to move on to our next agenda.
So I'm not on this committee, and I certainly don't intend to hijack it, but I mostly have a question about it. So normally when you think of other cultures, you always think of food. And so just a thought of, you know, along with maybe a cultural festival, a community potluck, where you just have people coming and, you know, bringing their favorite dish, whether it be just green beans, whether it be, you know, whatever kind of food it is, but to gather around with food. It's always just been my experience. I'm originally from West Virginia, so I'm an Appalachian girl, where that's how we got to know each other, and that's how we met our neighbors, and that's how we connected with one another, was through food. And so it was just a thought that I wanted to throw out there, that it could be a really good opportunity for a community to come together through food.
I don't think you're going to find too many people arguing with that one. That's something that we can do. That would help with the events, and then even at that point, you can expand and, you know, throw some art and music in there as well. All right, Darren, we'll go to you, and then I think we'll go ahead and get ready to move on to our next topic.
Yeah, I'll make them real quick, but actually, I think maybe I have two questions. The first being, you may have already kind of answered this, and we can maybe get into it more in depth at a later time, but specifically, how do we recognize those who are new to Reynoldsburg? And I think you hit on it where you get the sale and you get that notification, but then I started thinking, well, what about the people who rent apartments in Reynoldsburg? So when Steve was talking about his net, my question again was, well, what is that net? How do we identify these individuals? And if we do identify them, do they even have to opt in to be essentially contacted? You know, that's a whole nother ball game. So I wanted to know if you could speak a little bit more about the net that we do use currently. And then my second question is, are we limited to just residents? Because I also was thinking, you know, I see a lot of vacant buildings, and I think, you know, if we could draw in more businesses, more, for lack of a better term, ethnical businesses, that would also drive in more attraction to the welcome to Reynoldsburg. So I didn't know if we were limited to only residential, or can we broaden this as high as the sky will let us?
Well, I think I know that the Chamber of Commerce is working very hard to kind of, I don't want to call it to reinvent themselves, but I know that they're kind of going through a transition right now. So I know that they want to get more involved in the community as well. And they have a new leadership team that's putting together a couple of ideas to do that. So that might be an opportunity to kind of involve some of the different businesses that are here as well. As far as what the city typically does, again, the notifications that go to the new homeowners, I think that, again, if we start going into the different apartment complexes as well and having kind of welcome packets for residents that are into our apartment districts, as well as, working with the school district. I think those are the starts. The rest of it, as bad as it sounds, it's social media, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Instagram, it's spreading that word out as best as we can, because that's really the easiest way and the most cost-effective way to get everybody out there. I mean, we can obviously send, letters to everybody in the city of Reynoldsburg, but at the same time, we can probably reach, a majority of the same group of people, through Facebook ads and things of that nature. So I think there's a lot of multi-faceted ideas that we can hit with that one. All right, I think is that the last question on this particular one? All right, so let me just kind of review where we're going to move from here. So we've got some collaboration between, the arts and beautification. So we have our co-chairs and chairs that can work on that one. Talking about issues with kind of a welcome to Reynoldsburg booth at certain events, connection to some of the students that we have, and then different types of events, the multicultural events, sponsored by the schools, city, and the chamber, things of that nature. Volunteer network to help with people of anyone who needs help filling out a resume, doing job interviews. So that's something that we can do, is reaching out to Job and Family Service and some of our Franklin County resources to get that information as well. And then when we talk about the events, that'll be something that we can bring up to our Parks and Rec team as far as the events as well, to do some sort of a, basically a community potluck and bring things together just to kind of expand that. So those are all really good ideas. Did I miss anything? We good? All right.
Yep.
Any questions? All right, so we'll go ahead and move on now to the military recognition. I'm going to quickly be able to go through some of this because I've seen most of everybody on there. I know Doug Joseph is here. Karen Kitchell, were you able to join us this evening? Okay. Stephen Sisak, I thought I saw, yep, there you are. And Renisha Springer. I know she's not going to be here, but I know she did actually ask if she could, she would like to take the lead on this particular topic. So unless there's any objections from the remainder of the military recognition, does anyone have any objections to that? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and let her know. And believe me, she does know she wants to do this. If this is not one of those, she's not here and she got volunteered for something. As far as anyone else, is there anyone else who would like to co-chair this one from the remainder of who's here, or maybe nominate that at a different point? All right, we can come back to that. How about anyone for the secretary? Stephen? You want to take notes for us, Stephen?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, we'll kind of come back to that one. So we'll look for a co-chair and we'll look for a secretary at our next one. Really the big thing for this one, I'll kind of leave it up. The Memorial Plaza finally got its name on. Now we're just waiting for some of the other accoutrements to go on. The parking lot area over by Lancaster in Maine. So that finally got designated Memorial Plaza, which is nice. The goal is to have everything, including some of the lighting and some of the displays will be up, as well as the flagpoles up. The goal is to have it done by Veterans Day. I've also already reached out to the governor's office as well. Obviously, there's an invitation for him, but we shall see if that works out with COVID. But we plan on having a kind of a ceremony at that point in time for Veterans Day. Outside of that, what other items do you think we can work on as far as military recognition? I'll kind of leave it up to everybody else.
I have a question about the Veterans Day date. Is that to be like an official dedication for that park?
That's what we're hoping for, just because I would like to think that that's enough time for them to finish something that originally was supposed to be finished before Memorial Day.
Okay.
But thank COVID and scheduling for that.
I'm not sure to what degree we can get this kind of information, but it might be nice if we can identify veterans that live in this, that are residents of the city, and invite them for special recognition at that event, if that hasn't already been thought of.
No, that's a good idea. There is a POW visual this Friday night at the VFW on Wagner Road. I will be in attendance, and we can reach out, and maybe that's a great way to start that, to get a list, and then that way we can get some invitations sent out. That's a good idea. Any other thoughts as we kind of move forward? I know that budgetary issues are, we're still working through to figure out how much we can actually get done this year. I know, Doug, you had mentioned at one point in time something that is kind of recognizing not only just the branches of the military, but also certain conflicts, and that we can kind of expand into that particular area as well. So those are two good things that I think that we can do. What we can do is perhaps in the not too distant future, we can set up, if we can get a Zoom meeting together with some of our designers and kind of go over some of those questions and see what we can come up with.
Now, I know that you initiated the banner program. I'm curious whether that could work in concert with this and perhaps set up some type of sponsor program where the proceeds could go toward the things that we might want to do in the memorial park, whether it be plaques or what have you. Just kind of try to create a revenue stream that can assist any other way we can get money, and also with maybe any kind of grants that might be available through the Veterans Administration or even veterans associations that might be willing to put money towards something like this.
Okay, that's an excellent idea. Would you like to take the lead on talking with the Veterans Administration for any particular grants?
Sure.
Okay. I can also talk with our state representative for the Franklin County side of Reynoldsburg is on the Armed Services Committee, so we can talk with him to see what options are available there as well. I know we were able to have our 9/11 recognition ceremony at the Truro Township Firehouse because this was not done in time. The hope is one day that we can have that at our Memorial Plaza as well. So that might be something. And I think the rest of it could be maybe if there's an opportunity to figure out other dates other than the typical that we're doing, the Veterans Day, Memorial Day, things of that nature. Obviously, 4th of July would be something that we can work on as well. I know originally before in a pre-COVID world, we were hoping to basically raise the flag on the 4th of July and even invite maybe some guest singers for the national anthem and things like that. So those are things that we can look at as well.
One other item that I thought might be something we could incorporate is a letter writing campaign for our currently serving military service people, and perhaps get involvement through the schools where we could make that even partially something where they could do that as part of their not curriculum, but as part of their extracurricular activities that they might could do that as far as a community service type thing. And again, if we can identify through either veterans organizations or just through other ways, we could have, that we could get mail to some of these service people that are overseas, or even at other places around the country on various bases. That was another idea. I thought that might be nice.
All right, I can take the lead with contacting the schools on that one. As much as they already get sick of hearing from me, I might as well just keep going with it. So that'll work out for that.
And I'm willing to serve as a co-chair as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that.
You might also want to reach out to the local Masonic Lodge. I know they do a lot with the VA and do a lot of community service in that way. And organizations like that would also have maybe information on veterans in the community that may not be affiliated otherwise.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we have that. I will set something up with the committee to talk with once we get an idea as far as budgetary issues, what we have to kind of get some things going in that regard for the part of Memorial Plaza. So that'll be good. I'm very much looking forward. We're supposed to have the red, white, and blue hopefully within the next 10 days, and then the flagpoles probably about within 2 weeks after that. So
I have one last question I have, Mayor. As far as as we look for revenue sources to do these things, whether it be grants or sponsorships, is there any restrictions on that money being basically utilized by the city, or would that be required to be done through a nonprofit organization?
That's what I don't know how that would work. I think that's, I'll save that one. I'll add that to the list for the city to take a look at. I know there's going to be a definite split between what is accountable for city versus not. But I know it's not something that we're not creating this. We've seen it in another number of other areas. I think it's just more logistical to try and figure out what column everything goes under. Auditor Sisak, I know you're on there. I know I'm kind of calling you in your official capacity. Is there anything already in existence as far as any of the accounts or anything like that for, for any kind of recognition programs? I know at one point there was something on there for the ski club, so I'm sure we could find an account at some point if we needed to properly track any donations that would come into the city for something like that. Would that be something that we could do? Might be having some communications. I'll follow up with him. I know where he works. I'll follow up with him tomorrow on that one. All right, so we've got a couple of good things going. This one's a little bit further along than some of the other ones, but that's a good start. So. All right, the last but certainly not least committee all the way around. I'll kind of quickly go through, and again, if you're here, I will try and go through. I know Brett Luzader is here, Finn is here. Jermaine Hilton is not going to be able to attend. Karen was not here. Michael is not here yet. Olivia, I think I saw you earlier.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Olivia is here. April Darling, I saw you earlier, but I don't know if you're still with us or not. Oh, there you are. I see the light now. Roger Ferran, and again, I'm Ferrantano.
I'm here. Thanks.
Right, there we go. Apologize for the name. Roxanne Burris. And Stephen is still here as well for this one. There's a lot of discussion about this one as far as transportation and traffic. I have a couple of volunteers to kind of lead the charge here for this one. We have April Darling, Brett Hairston, and Jermaine Hilton, who again is not able to attend, and Olivia have all requested to kind of be chair or co-chair. Do I have any nominations?
Like I said at the last meeting, I'd be happy to chair.
All right, so we'll have Brett as.
I second.
Second on that one, very good. Anyone want to volunteer to or nominate someone for co-chair?
I'll do co-chair.
Okay, who is this again? So I can't see the.
Christian.
Pearson. All right, there we go.
Second.
I like how somebody's ready to jump in there with that second really fast. That's good. All right, and then last but not least is a secretary. Do we have any volunteers for the secretary?
Where's Olivia at on this one?
Olivia's there to second, I thought. All right, we'll come back with it. We'll come back with that one. We'll try and convince some of our colleagues here on that one. All right, so transportation and traffic are a couple of different things. So let us start with where do we see this committee going as far as how do we go about starting what we're looking for? Typically, when I've gotten concerns about traffic or speeding or something along those lines, the first thing we do is usually try and get some statistical data from the police department, either with the false indicator measure where they check your speed, but you don't see it. And then the next time, you actually see what your speed is to see what the differences are to kind of identify it. I thought even possibly of asking RPD based on the number of tickets that they write and speeding tickets, what are the most, interesting areas of town that get the most speeding tickets, something along those lines to kind of quantify that. And then the other part is just the actual transportation thing. I know that the COTA has reached out to us and we're potentially going to be what is known as basically a rapid transit line for the COTA bus program going from downtown Columbus all the way out to eventually the Etna Township with all of the jobs that they have out there. So that is a direction to go to help alleviate some traffic in that concern. But I will leave it up to some of you to kind of shout out some ideas if you want to go ahead.
I've already, excuse me, Mayor. I've already approached your assistant, Jessica, about getting traffic counts and speed counts that the police department and the street department have already done.
Okay.
I know they've done quite a few over the last year and a half, couple years. I don't know how long they keep those. And I know a lot of times they aren't relevant after a certain period of time because traffic patterns change and different things like that. And I know you also had a open house or a forum and met with the folks that live over on Priestley. I don't know if we could get some, minutes or maybe some notes from that meeting that you had. It'd be a good start.
Absolutely. That have the PowerPoint conversation and a couple of other things with that as well. So I can get that sent out to the committee. That's simple enough.
Yeah, Mayor, I think I like what was already brought up, but I also think we could take a look at, crosswalks where those take place, some of the traffic signals, also when you think about from a traffic perspective, getting more information from the police in terms of, where they're issuing tickets and what kind of tickets are they issuing, doing ride along so that we really understand where there is a concern from the community. And then, I really did like kind of how you did that forum for Priestley, but doing maybe a forum that's around the police and traffic and kind of really understand where the heartburn is for the community, and then work towards that as part of the overall agenda, where we're taking into consideration what the community wants, not just what we see as members of the community as well.
I think everybody's street is the street that everybody speeds the most on. So I think, yeah, having some of that RPD background would be a good way to start the thing. Absolutely. That's an easy one to go ahead and take care of. And if Brett, I know Jessica's probably already started working on gathering some of that information. We can work with RPD to gather that. And then maybe when we have our committee meeting with this particular group, we can have the chief or one of his lieutenants kind of come in and help answer some of those questions as well.
And I know a lot of times, and this is just my experience, when the police department does go out, or the street department go out and do the traffic and speed counts, a lot of times the people don't believe what those numbers show. Yeah. But when you're sitting on your porch and a car drives past, it's in your nature to say, that car's going too fast. Mm-hmm. But when they actually do the counts, they're usually within what the police department calls their variable, which is in a neighborhood street of 25 to 30 miles an hour, which the vast majority of them will be running right about 95% to 96% will be going to that speed.
What about if we were to take maybe volunteers from this committee, just for giggles? Maybe there would be a point in time where RPD would be able to, I don't want to call it like not a traffic sting or anything like that, but maybe they could go to one of these particular areas with a radar, and one of you can be in a ride along aspect of something and just kind of see what the actual traffic speeds are. And once we identify some of these roads, and then that way, if I say it or if RPD says it, and maybe people have a hard time believing those numbers, but maybe if somebody who is, just a regular citizen from the community that happened to be in that area, that you can see and have that firsthand experience with something, that might be an opportunity as well. And I think part of me wants to like Facebook Live that, but I think at that point, nobody's going to speed faster because everybody will be watching.
I'll do it.
There you go. All right.
I mean, I think that's a great idea.
I'll volunteer as well.
I'll do it.
All right, that sounds good. I will let the chief know. He and I will talk about that. That'll be a fun time. And an informational one. So we'll get some more information on the areas where traffic is, areas where speeding is, some of the statistical information. We'll have that together and go from there. That's a really good idea. Anywhere else we want to go, get that information from what I did with Priestley. I can get that out to everybody on the committee as well. Any other thoughts for this particular one?
Not necessarily for this committee, but maybe all the committees. You were talking about in the future, we would set up our own times and dates and when we would have the meetings. Would the council clerk or maybe Jessica post those on the city's website for us like they do the planning commission? And
so, yeah, they would absolutely. Yeah, that's part of what City Attorney Sip was talking about properly notifying everything. Yeah, we'll have those up. We'll make sure that after our next meeting, which is the last item, obviously, is picking a date for that. What we'll do is we'll establish what times everyone's going to meet for those committees at that next meeting, and then we'll make those that permanent thing to have that out. So if somebody wants to know, somebody wants to join in on one of these committees after the fact, that they can do so because they can look and see when the next meeting's coming up. So that, yeah, absolutely, great idea. Steve, sorry.
Oh, I just renamed myself so I could differentiate myself from the other Steven a little bit better.
Oh, you're fine.
I would like to advocate for multi-use bike and pedestrian lanes because for a lot of obvious reasons, but I just want to say them all out loud so we can get more people thinking about this and advocating for this as well. Pedestrian safety, getting out and walking around is good for our health and getting more people to get exercise. Accessibility for people who don't have cars to be able to get to the stores and shops and connecting neighborhoods. I know where I'm at, we're a little bit disconnected from each other because we don't have sidewalks and we're all dead end streets. And I think, these kinds of things can encourage you to ride your bike and connect with each other. But also, I think for me, it's kind of a long-term investment for the environment because, the more cars we have on the street, the more we're polluting, especially if there's traffic jams, we can reduce some congestion if we encourage more people to bike ride. And also, even for people who aren't bike riding enthusiasts, I'd love to encourage more people to appreciate the benefits of bike riding and getting out and walking. Global warming is a serious issue, and one of the important things the cities can do is to encourage more modes of transportation like public transit, but also walking and biking that don't have the carbon footprint. So
No,
I strongly advocate for the bike lanes whenever possible.
I'm not sure where you live, but basically the idea is, I know that's something that I want to do, is we are actually having some good meetings today, talking about some of our connectivity, hopefully with the Wagner Road project, which will allow the sidewalks and bike paths on Wagner Road. Once those get completed, which hopefully won't be too far off into the future, the idea would be you would be able to ride your bicycle all the way from the Summit campus area all the way down to Wagner Road without ever having to go on Broad Street or Main Street and things of that nature. And then the rest of it is then finding a way to connect from Wagner Road into the Old Town area, but then working on the other side of everything as well. If you're coming up of Rhett and Half or Bryce or something along those lines, and then moving back into some of the other areas. But yeah, the connectivity aspect is huge. That's something definitely we need to do. So I think that's probably a good thing to lead up to kind of see where we're at and then where we can go from there. We were on a call today with Morpsey, and one of our Central Ohio regions that help us with these types of things, and they're big advocates for it. So that might be something that I can get some transportation studies out to everybody, specifically when it comes to bike paths. And there are a lot of grants out available for things like that. So we actually are in the process of applying for a couple right now. So that'll be a good thing.
And may I ask, do you know the status of the Greenway Trail, which is supposed to go along Blacklick Creek and connect up through some northern areas?
Yeah, a lot of that is going to depend on how we do some things with Civic Park to make sure that it's all kind of eco-friendly. And there are a couple of other areas that have experienced flooding and some water runoff and erosion factors that are there. So we have to address a couple of those things before we do too much with the paths aspect. We actually, that's another grant that we're talking about doing, is on the other side of the YMCA as part of some of the issues right there, where you could actually work to kind of strengthen some of that foundation there to deal with that bike path, but then would help with the greenways all the way throughout. So now that'll be good. We actually have been talking to one thing that we don't have a shortage of is Zoom meetings here at City Hall lately. So, but that'll be something that we can definitely get the information out of.
Thank you.
Right. No, thank you. The great ideas. I really enjoy it. And like I said, CODA hopefully they're hoping for that rapid transit lane too, because that's transportation is a key. People kind of underestimate. If you don't have transportation, you can't get to a job. If you don't have a job, then you have a whole other set of problems to deal with. So if we can kind of take either the walkability aspect or public transportation aspect of it, that definitely can just help the economy in general and kind of attract more people into the downtown area, which is where we're hoping to kind of grow some jobs out there. All right, so as far as our next meeting, I think we're kind of looking at the same idea. I don't know if you want to stick with the third Wednesday of the month. That's kind of what we've done the last couple of times. So if we want to pencil in October 21st, that's the third Wednesday of the month, kind of has just a natural ring to it. Is that something that everybody seems open for, that's been strong enough to tough it out to the last little bit here?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so we'll do October 14th at 7 p.m. And as of right now, this will be live and at City Hall. That's what we're going to try and hope for. We'll know first, we'll look at the audio visual equipment to make sure that that's taken care of. And then the second thing after that is just making sure that we can meet under the COVID restrictions and things of that nature. But we'll get some information sent out to everybody. We'll start kind of gathering some things up from what we talked about from the committees from earlier, and we'll get some things together for the next one. So I appreciate all of you sticking through this. I think we've got some amazing ideas that can really make a big difference here in our community. And I thank you for all for helping out.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Mayor.
All right, we'll see you all soon. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night, all.